My name is Miss Jones. I teach elementary school math, and welcome to my channel, Miss Math Jones. So today we're going to be working on our third grade Eureka Module 3, Lesson 18 homework. The homework objective for this lesson is to multiply by multiples of 10 using the place value chart. So everything is going to be geared toward or focused on multiplying by multiples of 10, like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Let's get started. Number 1 says, use the discs to complete the blanks in the equations. So let's look at letter A. For letter A, we have 3 rows times 3 ones. So we have 3 rows of 3 ones. Now we're going to count the ones that we see. We have 9 ones. Then we're going to solve the equation underneath there, where it says 3 times 3. Well, what's 3 times 3? 9. That's all we have to do for A. Now, basically, we're going to be doing the same thing for B, except the numbers are just a little bigger. So instead of 3 rows of ones, for letter B, we have 3 rows of 3 tens. Now, if we just count our tens, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 tens. Now, the great thing about multiplying by multiples of 10 is if you just focus on the first 2 numbers and you multiply those first, you can just put a 0 in the ones place and that solves the equation. So 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 30 is 90. That's it for letter B. Now, if you need to pause the video to write everything in or to check your answers against mine, go ahead and do that now. Let's look at number 2. Number 2 says, use the chart to complete the blanks in the equations. All right, so for number 2, letter A, we have a place value chart. Well, part of one anyway. We have the tens and we have the ones place. Now, in the tens place for letter A, there's nothing there. In the ones place, though, we have 2 rows of 5 ones. So everything in the ones place are ones. Let's count to see how many ones we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 ones. And then we solve the equation. Well, 2 rows of 5 ones is the same thing as saying 2 times 5. And 2 times 5 is 10. We've completed 2, letter A. Now let's move on to number 2, letter B. Okay, we have the tens place again and the ones place. But this time, all of our discs are in the tens place. And right now, we have 2 rows of 5 tens. How many tens discs do we have in the tens place? Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 tens in the tens place. Now let's look at the equation below it. 2 rows of 5 tens is the same thing as saying 2 rows of 50, because each one of those discs are worth 10. Now, again, if we focus on just the first two numbers, the 2 and the 5, we know that 2 times 5 is 10. And if you put a 0 behind it, then that would make it 100. And when I say 0 behind it, I mean you put a 0 in the ones place. So 2 times 50 would be 100. We've completed number 2B. Now, right now, if you need to pause your video to make sure that you have your answers correct, go ahead and do that now. Let's go ahead and look at number 2, letter C. So we're looking at number 2, letter C. We have the tens place and we have the ones place. There's nothing in the tens place, but there are a lot of place value discs in the ones place. So go ahead and count to see how many ones discs are in the ones place. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So we have 5 rows of 5 ones, and when we counted it, we had a total of 25 ones. Now 5 rows of 5 ones is the same thing as saying 5 times 5. And because we just counted it, we know that 5 times 5 equals 25. We've completed number 2, letter C. Let's move on to number 2, letter D. Now this time you notice all of the place value discs are in the tens place. So we have 5 rows of 5 tens. And since we just counted them in the ones place, we know that instead of 25 ones this time, we have 25 tens, because all they did was move them over to the tens place. Now 5 rows of 5 tens is the same thing as saying 5 times 50. Well, again, if we just focus on the first two numbers, 5 times 5. Well, we know that 5 times 5 is 25. And all we have to do to answer the question of 5 times 50 is put a 0 in the ones place after 5 times 5. Well, 5 times 5 is 25, and we put a 0 in the ones place, and that gives us our answer of 250. Also, even if you're looking at the place value chart, you have 25 tens and 0 ones. It's 250. Now, if you need to pause the video to make sure that you and I have the same information, do so now. Let's look at number 3. Number 3 is a matching activity. So, the very first question is 6 times 2. 6 times 2 is 12. So we're going to match the block that says 6 times 2 to the answer of 12. We're just going to draw a line to it. If you have different colors, I would suggest use those just so that you can see where your lines are going. I like using different colors for matching. Now let's look at the next one. It says 6 tens times 2. Well, we know that another way of writing 6 tens would be to write 60. So that's the same thing as saying 60 times 2. Well, like I said before, we focus on those first two numbers, 6 and 2. 6 times 2 is 12. And then there's a 0 in the ones place. So 6 tens times 2, or 60 times 2, is 120. And we draw a line from that block to the block with 120 in it. The next equation is 7 times 3. Well, we should know that 7 times 3 is 21. And here, all we're doing is drawing a line from this equation to the block with the 21 on it. The next equation is 7 tens times 3. Well, 7 tens is the same thing as saying 70. So 7 tens times 3 is the same thing as saying 70 times 3. Well, again, we focus on the first two numbers, the 7 and the 3. 7 times 3 is 21, which leaves a 0 in the ones place. So that means that 70 times 3, or 7 tens times 3, is 210. And we draw our line from the equation to 210. Next, we have 70 times 5. Again, let's focus on the first two numbers. We have 7 times 5. Well, we know that 7 times 5 is 35, which leaves a 0 in the ones place. So we write it as 350. And we draw a line from the equation to the box with 350. Finally, we have 3 times 90. Well, again, let's focus on those first two numbers. We have 3 times 9. And we know that 3 times 9 is 27, which leaves us with a 0 in the ones place. So we write that as 270. And we draw a line from the equation to the block or box with 270. Now, at this point, all of your equations should be solved and the equations should be matched to their correct answers. There is one more question on this page, one more question in this homework. It says each classroom, number 4, way at the bottom, each classroom has 30 desks. What is the total number of desks in 8 classrooms? Model with the strip diagram. Okay, so each classroom has 30 desks. They want to know the total number of desks in 8 classrooms. Well, I can put the number 30 in a square. So each square would represent a classroom, and there are 30 desks in each classroom. That's why I have the 30 in a square. So That's 30 desks in one classroom, 30 desks in two classrooms, 30 desks in three classrooms, 30 desks in four classrooms, 30 desks in five classrooms, 30 desks in six classrooms, 30 desks in seven classrooms, 30 desks in eight classrooms. Okay. Now you can draw your strip diagram on the side of your paper like I did, or you can draw it out the regular way, horizontally, to where the boxes are right next to each other instead of on top of each other. Either way, it's fine. Let's keep going. Now, this strip diagram represents 8 classrooms with 30 desks in each classroom. And the equation that represents our strip diagram is 30 times 8 equals unknown. So again, when we have a number that's a multiple of 10 and we're multiplying that times a one-digit number like 8, we just focus on the first two numbers, which is 3 times 8. And 3 times 8 is 24. Well, we have to do something with that 0. We just place the 0 in the ones place, which means 30 times 8 is 240. All we did was put a 0 in the ones place. That's it. So when you write your answer out, 8 classrooms would have 240 desks total. Now go ahead and pause your video to make sure that you have everything matched, you have your strip diagram drawn, and you've written the answer to your question. Well, that was the last question of our homework. Lesson 18 homework is complete. Congratulations. I'm so glad that you went ahead and you completed your Lesson 18 homework, and I'm so proud of you for sticking with it. Thank you. Well, I'll see you next time. Hope this video helped. Have a great rest of your day.